Tonight on Friday Night Fright Night, we're going back to the 80s, where vampires wore leather jackets and lived next door.
It's blood, it's fangs, and late night horror TV. Pure 80s magic.
It's Fright Night from 1985, and we're about to sink our teeth into this. So just hang tight, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Friday Night Fright Night. I'm GC from Face the Movies.
And I'm Lee from Cinema Whiplash. Tonight, we're talking about one of the coolest, campiest, and most beloved vampire film of the 1980s. That's Fright Night from 1985.
Teen horror, practical effects, and that unmistakable 80s atmosphere. This movie's got it all. We'll be talking about its blend with comedy and scares, the effects that still hold up, and how it revitalized the vampire genre for the new generation.
Yes, sir.
Now, spoiler disclaimer as usual. If you haven't seen Fright Night, which is again, guys, it's from 1985, so I mean, come on, it's been a long time.
Go
But
watch it.
yeah, go watch it. But if you haven't, don't worry. For the first few minutes, we are going to be spoiler free, and after that, we're going to go full blown spoiler. So
Yeah. We'll let you guys know and give you the full spoiler breakdown.
absolutely. Now, for if you haven't seen it, we're going to go ahead and give you a little film synopsis. Now, this movie takes place pretty much, again, this is from 1985, when a teenager, Charles Brewster, discovers that his next door neighbor, Jerry Dandrige, is an actual vampire. He seeks help from a washed up horror TV host named Peter Vincent. Together, they must face off against a creature of the night that's both seductive and deadly. That's one hell of a combination.
Yeah, pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, man. Now, dude, for first and foremost, this was like legit my first time watching this film. I cannot like I've seen clips in the past, but this is for sure the first time I watched it. So I got a lot of stuff on here, but before
Oh
and
man.
I
And
know
you
you
just you just told the audience, come on, it's 1985. You haven't seen it and you hadn't seen it.
no, I hadn't. I mean, listen, this was before my time, but
Yeah.
no, but I know you grew up with this, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it and all that good stuff. But before we do jump into that, we're gonna do a quick little icebreaker. Obviously, we'll start with the fun one and then work our way to the serious one. Now, as far for the fun one, if you found out your neighbor was a vampire, who's the first person you to call for help?
Well, I would probably call my cousin because I know he's got a lot of weapons. I think, yeah, probably outside of my wife, because if we saw the neighbor was a vampire, we lived together, we'd notice, and she'd be the first person to know about it. But I'm sure he would try to seduce her like in the movie, so I would have to call my friend. I don't have a friend like what's his name, Evil Ed, but I do have a cousin that I could call and see if he would help me out, and he probably wouldn't believe me either though. So it'll be just like the movie. What about you?
Dude, I got this old best friend. I don't know if you ever met him or not back in the day. His name's Adrian. I actually just talked to him. Just he was on my live stream yesterday, hanging out and stuff. Like not on the live stream, but like in the
Right.
comment section. And I was talking to him on the phone yesterday. So I think he would probably be the one because we used to go back in the day. We do this whole ghost hunting thing. So we'd go to like these abandoned places and supposed haunted houses and stuff. So he'd probably be the one that he'd be my version of like Evil Ed. Like he'd just
Yeah.
be like what he'd be all like similar personality and everything. So I think that would be the person.
All right. That sounds good. And for the serious icebreaker, what makes 80s horror, especially Fright Night, feel so timeless compared to modern vampire movies to you?
Dude, I think honestly it's the music. Man, that the soundtrack to this movie I absolutely loved. I thought the music was great. And it definitely from the aesthetic, like as far as for the clothing, you can obviously see the cars, you see that beautiful Mustang. Everything just screamed 80s, and it definitely felt like a time capsule of the time. That's for sure, especially the way they spoke, their behavior. Like it's so different than what it is today, and especially from a lot of vampire movies that I've seen. I mean, obviously you have like Nosferatu, which is way older, so that's its own timepiece, and they spoke differently, and the music's different, and the soundtrack. But I think this one is its own thing. Like it's a vampire movie, yes, but it's not From Dusk Till Dawn vampire movie. It's not Sinners. It's just its own little I guess what would say like subgenre vampire movie.
Yeah, yeah, we're definitely gonna in the future, very near future, we're gonna be covering a lot of vampire movies. So, but yeah, I think this one stands out because of the '80s. Yeah, like you said, it really just from the music to the acting to the way the actors look. I mean, you could tell it was made, and it wasn't one of those movies that came out yesterday that takes place in the '80s. And sometimes they do a good job with that, but for the most part, this movie is super '80s. Um, it's timeless in its own way for most of those things. I think the modern vampire movie right now is doing really good. For a while there, it kind of died off, but I think for the past 2 years, it's kind of been revived with remakes like Nosferatu and movies like Abigail and Sinners and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely different than all those movies I just mentioned. There is some '80s vampire movies that you could kind of compare a little bit to, mostly The Lost Boys, but yeah, I think. It stands on his own right as a classic cult '80s vampire film.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing, man, between this one and Lost Boys, I mean, that's a good example. Like, I felt like Lost Boys was more, like, grungy. Like, it was more rock and roll. It was definitely more, like, darker. Like, it had that sexiness to it. And even though
Yeah.
this one does have its moments, but for the most part, this one felt more of a goof compared to, like, the Lost Boys.
Yeah, no, yeah. This one doesn't take itself very seriously. This one's more contained. Lost Boys, you have bigger sets, you have they're out more. It's more of a teen. I mean, both movies have teenagers, but that one feels very MTV, right? This one feels more like a contained comedy, doesn't take itself too seriously type. So they both came out in the '80s. They're probably the two most regarded '80s vampire movies, but they also have a lot of differences that make them stand out uniquely on their own.
Dude, one of the differences on here is that somebody I never thought I'd see in a vampire movie, yet alone this one, was Amanda Bierce that
Yeah,
plays Amy. Dude, I grew up watching her on Married with Children
yeah.
as
Same.
Marcy, and seeing her on here, I remember the first few minutes, I'm thinking, why does she look so familiar? And after literally like 10 minutes of just staring and trying to figure it out, I was like, wait a minute, that's Darcy. I was like, "Holy crap, dude, that's hilarious." And after that, it was just man, it was hard. It was hard to focus just because I just kept seeing her as the nagging neighbor Darcy, but, that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, well, let's get into the cast since you mentioned her. We got William Ragsdale as Charlie Brewster. You might know him from Mannequin 2, and The Reaping. You got Chris Sarandon, which I think he's probably one of the most popular ones here. He plays Jerry Dandrige. He's the main vampire. And I'm wearing the shirt Child's Play. He is from
Yeah,
Child's
he's
Play. This movie is directed by Tom Holland, which directed Child's Play and Thinner. You got Rodney McDowell as Peter Vincent from Planet of the Apes in class of 1984. Like GC just mentioned, Amanda Beers from mostly Married with Children, and I believe she did come out in Fright Night 2. Very underrated. I really enjoy Fright Night Part 2. And Stephen Jeffries as Evil Ed. He doesn't like to be called that, but he's pretty much Evil Ed throughout the whole movie. And he was in the movie 976 Evil, which was another horror movie, and I want to say directed by Freddy Krueger himself. So
Freddy
that was
Krueger. Oh, Robert Englund?
Robert Englund, I believe, directed that movie. Yeah,
Oh,
interesting. Not the best movie out there, but yeah. So I don't really know most of these actors except for Chris Sarandon and Amanda Beers. Like you said, I grew up with her with Married with Children, and
yeah.
Chris Sarandon, I grew up seeing him in this and in Child's Play. The other actors, I haven't seen too much of them since then, so they don't really. I don't really, remember them that well other than this.
Yeah, same thing on my end, man. And it's funny that 976 Evil movie, it looks very familiar to a version of that. I think it's called like Evil Bong or something. That they made a
Oh,
few of those like stoner horror movies. So when I
yeah.
saw that name there, I was thinking, I was like, is that one of those like stoner ones? But it's also funny his character Evil Ed, and then that movie being 976 Evil. But
Yeah, and Robert Englund did direct that movie, and I have it. I own it on DVD. just because mostly he directed it. It's not the greatest movie, but it's an average movie. Worthy of
Yeah.
a watch. For I'm sure the fans out there that love horror might have checked it out. But yeah, doesn't really stand out that much, but it's worthy of a watch.
Dude, I'll definitely check that one out. I mean, I'm curious to I didn't know he directed anything. Um,
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to hear about that. Now, dude, I I wanna get you with this question because I know with this movie, definitely you've been a long time fan of this one. I mean, obviously the one that told me about it. I think you lent it to me at one point, and I was just so busy with work and everything else. I just never got around to watching it till finally a year later. But dude, why do you think that this movie resonates so much with you, like decades later, and like other horror fans that just like cherish it so much?
I think it's something special about the 80s. A lot of these movies, I'm sure, and this is why I think maybe sometimes, not always, but a reaction to watching this movie right now in 2025 and seeing it for the first time might not resonate as much. And I totally understand that, especially as an adult. Maybe if you would have watched it, you were like 12 or something, you would have and I'm not putting words in your mouth. I don't know if you enjoyed it or not. I'm just saying, just in case, like this movie, just like if you grew up with it, you enjoy it because it's goofy, it's fun. It's a movie you could watch with like family a lot. It's like a horror movie, but it doesn't have. It's not like super gory. It's got some really cool scenes, that we'll talk about with practical effects for sure. Yeah, it just like I'll be honest with you. I like from the 80s. I grew up with both of them. I did grow up more with the Lost Boys than this one. I watched that one more and I enjoy both of them a lot.
Yeah.
If I was to pick one, then yes, Lost Boys I like it a little better. But yeah, it just resonates just because of that. Just the fun cast. Evil Ed is a little bit tough to get through sometimes. I can see. I remember even on my first watch when I was younger, and I didn't see this when I was like super young. I was already in my teens when I first saw it. But yeah, Ivo Leku, his acting choices are a little weird sometimes. Well, most of the time. But I've seen the movie enough that I'm used to it, and I kind of like it now. But in the first time watch, even him, he came out a little bit obnoxious, a little bit like his acting was over the top, way too over the top. His voice was a little annoying. So all those things, if anyone tells me that, I'll be like, I get it. I totally get it. But I've gotten used to it, and it's kind of grown. He's grown on me. And there's a lot of questionable things that do happen in this movie that we'll talk about. But yeah, I think it's just nostalgia, just enjoying it when I was younger and still enjoying it now. And I never really overwatched it. So I mean, this is probably like maybe it sounds like a lot, but it's not that much considering it's been out since '85. I've probably seen it about 5, 6 times. So it's not like Lost Boys I've seen like 18 times or something. So it's just a big difference.
Yeah, if you had the VHS, you definitely like that thing is already barely surviving if that's how many times you've seen it.
Yeah,
Um,
I had Lost Boys on VHS, but I didn't have this one. So this one was more of if it was on cable or something, I'd watch it. It was a lot of
yeah,
those like whether I don't know who was playing it, whether Stars or HBO or whatever. If it was on, I'd watch it. Plus, first time I saw it, I rented it.
dude. I'm glad you brought that up about Evil Ed, man, because I'll tell you, oh, holy hell.
Hmm.
I think that
I
we'll
get it.
jump yeah, we'll jump into that in a few, but like we'll get to the cast and the roles and everything. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that I really wanted to talk about on here. But no, that's cool, dude. I mean I get why this movie would resonate with you for sure. I mean, especially growing up with it. I mean, dude, the 80s, that's the thing, man. Like I feel like the 80s and 90s were great times. I mean, there was great music. Everything was so new and just it was such an awesome time. I mean, obviously it had its like shitty moments like every other time in history,
Oh
but
yeah.
for the most part, everything like when you look back at all these films and everything, it was just the practical effects, magic, the creativity, all this new stuff, movies and genres that they were coming up with, the music at the time that they were putting in these films was just like, dude, I'm just rewatching all the Nightmare on Elm Streets on the 4K, and dude, like as each movie progresses, the soundtrack, like the music when it starts, is just like, damn, dude, like this is so much fun. It just really gets you going. I feel like I'm in one of those like workout music videos from back in the day. You remember those like videos
Yeah.
with the
Abs of Steel type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, dude, but from like the 80s. But yeah, it
Yeah.
gets you pumped up, man. It's definitely fun and the colors and everything like just kind of it's very funky.
Yeah, I think being a kid in the 80s and 90s is was great, you know. I don't know about being an adult in the 80s. I'm sure that was tough because I know it was financially it was a tough time.
Yeah.
But being a kid, you know, it was a blast. I got to experience more being a kid in the 90s than the 80s, but I was a, you know, a little kid in the 80s. So yeah, it just resonates with people those two decades. You know, I mean, for cinema, the 70s were amazing though too. I gotta always mention the 70s, but when it
Yeah.
comes to horror and just fun and MTV era, 80s, 90s, it stands out for that, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well, dude, how'd you think about the horror and the humor, right? Like, how'd you feel about the balance between the two? With like, did you feel that the horror and and there was a balance between the horror? I mean, I sound like I'm repeating myself. I was trying to word it as best, but did you feel that the balance between horror and humor without losing tension, that did it work for you?
I didn't think it had too many moments where something was supposed to be super tense and they try to make comedy out of it. I
Yeah,
did find that the humor in it, for the most part, didn't make me laugh personally a lot, but it didn't bother me. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's certain movies where if something's not funny, you're like, oh, that was corny, cheesy. For the most part, the comedy, is a couple of moments that I enjoy. Um, especially with what's his name? Vincent, Peter Vincent, played by Roddy McDowell, the older guy that they get. I thought he had some little moments where I know his acting isn't like the best, but he has some moments that were genuinely funny. But yeah, I think it blends it pretty well. This movie doesn't take itself seriously. It's meant to be
yeah.
like a fun, 80s. There's a lot of these 80s. We'll talk about the recommendations and stuff like that, but there's a lot of these in the 80s that they did where they mixed it. They didn't take themselves too serious. So I think it works for me, but how did you feel about that? Especially being your first time watching it in this new age where comedy tends to, age.
Dude, I want to say that that for me, I didn't laugh once, like throughout the whole movie. Like I didn't laugh. And I think the reason why was because of there was certain moments, right? Like when, for example, when Evil Ed goes to Peter Vincent's apartment and he's already a vampire and stuff, and he goes there to get him. And I just felt like there wasn't any tension just because of Evil Ed's, like the actor that played Evil Ed, he was overacting, like it
Hmm.
was too much. So I felt like with him, whenever there was a scene with him, it just wasn't tension. It wasn't scary. It was just almost like I just want to get it over with because he was so annoying to me. But however, then you have Chris Sarandon, obviously, the head honcho, the head vampire, Jerry himself. Dude, I felt like whenever he was on screen, that dude just created perfect tension. Like he was fantastic. He was great. Even his lackey was okay. Like to me, his lackey felt more like he felt like a weirdo, but not like like he wasn't like scary. Like, oh, this guy's like, I'm scared. This guy's gonna get me. He felt more
He was more
like
of
a
a bully.
kind of, but he felt like a predator, like if like a PDF file, if you know what I mean, because we can't use the word.
Yeah, yeah,
But
okay.
yeah, but like he felt more like that. Like that's the vibe that I got from him. And I was just like every time he was looking at him, he just seemed kind of like I don't know, like he had like some basement or something where he was just some like Freddy Krueger type character.
Mhm.
But besides that, dude, I mean, yeah, like the I think the tension was pretty good when we had Jerry, the head vampire. I think it was fantastic. Um, but I did feel like I get it. Like I know it's supposed to be kind of like a horror type comedy ish. I just wish that they would have held back a little bit more on the humor. But I mean, again, I think I have to. It was my first time watching it, so maybe some stuff went over my head a little bit, and I definitely have to rewatch it a second time. Obviously, not focus so much, even though it's going to be hard focusing on Evil Ed. And I, honestly, with Amanda Beers too, her character Amy, I just, dude, it was so hard to like really see her as Amy, just because I've seen her for like 11 seasons of Married with Children. So when you grow up with somebody for so long, it was hard to really take her serious. But everybody else, when they were on screen, they were just fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, which I guess brings this question to us, and then we could get into the actors a little more and deeper into a few details. But I guess I know what your answer is going to be. But which performance stood out the most? Was it Sarandon's Suave Vampire or McDowell's classic horror host, the main, or just like Brewster himself, the main character?
Dude, I think Sarandon's Suave Vampire, man. Like like I said, he definitely had the suave. Like that scene when they're in that club dancing. Dude, the dude was crushing it. Like it really stood out to me. I was like, dude, this dude is definitely he's playing the seductive vampire like to the T. When he shows up to Charlie's house that first time, and he's just sitting there. Dude, I thought that was such a cool like unveiling of him just sitting there. And you see his hands, and then all of a sudden you just see him like look at you, and he stands up. He definitely had the physical acting down packed. Like the way he moved, he was very smooth, very calm. He reminded me of almost like a lion, right? Like the way they move so slowly and gracefully when they're hunting. And
Yeah.
yeah, he was absolutely hands down just crushed it. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, same. I mean, I think Chris Sarandon, he just steals this movie. I still really like William Ragsdale as Charlie Brewster. I think he's a good lead. He does a good job. His acting is solid.
Yeah.
Um Amanda, I can get away from the Married with Children thing a little bit because I saw this movie a long time ago, so I already knew it. Even though I did watch Married with Children first, of course. Growing up in the 90s, I love that show. But this is my thing with this cast though. I wanted to mention this is funny. These people are playing teenagers, but Amanda was 26 years old. And it's funny because I watched the movie and I look at her and I go, this girl's not 17. But I was like, maybe she's 20, but she was 26. And the main actor, William, was 23. And then your favorite Evil Ed was 20. So he was actually the youngest one. But going back to that, it's like, yeah, these guys, they were older. I like, and we know this with studios. The reason that they don't hire teenagers is because they can't work till too late. So you hire them a little bit older so they can work late and they have to be adults. But but yeah, just Chris Sarandon. I love the scene where he first shows himself. He goes into his mom, Brewster's mom lets him in, and then at night he comes back and he scares the crap out of him. He throws him around. They have this whole fight together. I really enjoy that scene. I think that's the scene where he looks like he's scary to him. There could be, he turns into a bat, and there's like a bunch of cool stuff. I really enjoy that scene with him, and yeah, like that scene in the club is really great too. So yeah, I think he's the one that stands out the most. But I do enjoy Brewster a lot, and Amanda, and Evil Ed. Like I said, we'll keep talking about him. Like I already mentioned earlier, I can the choices that he made are weird, and the way that I don't know if because I saw some of the making of this yesterday, and the director said that it was the actor's choice to do that, and he went with it, and he ended up liking it, but it's not your conventional performance, and everybody knew that. So he was doing it on purpose. So it's not like the actor, when you see him in interviews, he talks normal. He doesn't do the extra stuff, like almost like he's
Yeah.
trying to sound like Bobcat from friggin' Police Academy or anything. So, but yeah, I mean, it's ballsy. Did it work? I don't know. I got used to it. You didn't like it. I get it. I didn't like it at first either. So it's 50-50 give and take. So some people do like the performance, but it's probably because they grew up on it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get he definitely yeah, he was doing that voice and I don't know, man, like and it was just his voice in general, like, I would have to see him, like, talking normal, but dude, like, every time he talked, even when before he was a vampire, when any moment that he had dialogue, I was just like, "Dude, just what the
Yeah.
hell?"
Oh, and his
Um,
mannerisms too, because he would always like cover his hand with his mouth, like, oh, like he just found out a big secret. He's like, oh, he did that like 3, 4 times.
yeah, it was
Um,
just he was so animated,
yeah,
but,
when
like
when Brewster goes ask for his help on what to get with vampires, his reaction to it is weird too. It's like, oh, really? Like he's playful with it, but he overdoes it. His mannerisms. And he's like,
yeah.
okay, okay, if you want to pay me $5 for this, I'll do it. But yeah, it's very you gotta get. I don't even know if you could get used to it. I totally can see people just not liking that performance. I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, dude, I wanna go back to something you mentioned with Chris Randon in the club that club scene. Dude, I didn't know that he choreographed that himself, which is incredible because I mean that dance scene. I mean, dude, like I was like, man, I'm surprised if Amanda herself didn't get a little excited during that scene because dude, they definitely had I don't know, it was something about them 2 together whenever they had a scene that you could see the passion, but when she was with Charlie, there was just and I get what they were doing with that, they were trying to make it seem like he was too distracted with the vampire stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know, it seemed even in the beginning when they're, like, making out and all that stuff, they just did not match together, but man, like, that choreographed scene with Amanda and Chris, dude, freaking chef's kiss, man. I don't know if that dude's, like, went to school for that or is a professional choreographer, dancer alongside of being an actor, but freaking crushed it, dude.
Yeah, and they did a good job showing that this is what vampires are. They like to seduce you,
Yeah.
like a Dracula type of thing, and so they get the sexual tension and the energy done very well. And that scene really stands out. I didn't know he did that, but that's great. Yeah, that's it's not easy to do, and it was very well done, very well shot. You have to like move her around, and then when she sees the mirror, the big mirror, and then he's there
Yeah.
and he's not there, and that was well played.
Dude, and I really enjoyed I did enjoy the fact that the seduction in this film was very it was seductive. It was very tasteful. The way he did it. There was that scene where like he puts his hand near her inner leg, right? And you think it's going somewhere and then it doesn't. And it's just it was so good compared to other vampire movies that I've seen where sometimes it's pretty much like one of those smut books, you know, the like
Mhm.
from back in the day with Fabio and all that. Like there's certain
Yeah.
movies that it kind of feels like that. Like it's like a soft core porn, but with this, it was just so damn tasteful, so damn believable. um, so again, so props to them or to him, to whoever came up with the choreography as far as for the seductive scenes, because that definitely made me believe it whenever it happened on screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very well done. Well, I think this is an obvious question, but how do you feel about the practical effects compared to modern CGI? Like, you think they hold up well in this movie?
Dude, I think those effects shit on modern day CGI for sure. I mean,
And which one was your
I
favorite? I want to know that.
dude, I want to say the werewolf, the not I guess werewolf or the wolf one where Evil Ed turns
Oh,
into
okay, really? Okay.
that it just because dude, it was so sick how he like how he just starts turning into him and then he's sitting there and he's kind of like almost asking for help and then he
Little by
starts
little.
yeah little by little and then he slowly starts reverting, but dude, it was one of those where it lasted so long that you really got to take in the effects and everything. So I thought that was amazing. I did like the bat transformation, especially like that end one where he jumps on Peter Vincent and all that stuff. I thought that was cool, and I read that that was actually a combination of like stop motion and puppetry. So that was pretty sick. But I have to say, definitely the wolf one. But what about you?
Well, first, yeah, I think they definitely hold up. Now watching it in 4K, I see like when Chris Sarandon's like longer fingers, you could kind of see the makeup on there and little things. Yeah, there's little things like that. There's two things I really love. My favorite make effect and part is when the creeper guy when he dies because he just starts melting all the way up to the
Yeah,
skeleton and it's just done so well. That has aged really well. That's my favorite kill and my favorite part of the makeup effects. But I really love, and this is the iconic. I'm gonna show it here. I know that for all you listeners, I'm gonna tell you what I'm showing. So I'm showing the cover of a Fright Night on Blu-ray
oh
4K,
that's
and
cool. Yeah,
so this is the yeah, and as most of you would remember, it's the house with the vampire behind it. Now that vampire behind it, this makeup effect, I love it on the girl, Amanda, which
yeah,
she plays Amy. When she turns into a full-on vampire and she has that makeup that you see on that cover, I love that. That looks so awesome because it's like no other vampire I've ever seen. Just with this really long mouth, it almost looks like a clown. It has
like
like
the
that clown
Joker.
look. Yeah, it's almost like Joker, right? And with the vampire teeth and the eyes, it's so those are my two favorite. But yeah, man, really well done. But all of it throughout the movie. '80s practical, '90s practical effects, most of the time hold up really well, and this is no exception.
Dude, I mean, if we're especially talking about like the effects and all that stuff. I mean, for sure, I agree with you. I think she had the best vampire makeup in the movie. I loved the wide like mouth and everything. I thought it was fantastic. Now I want to talk about the scene where Evil Ed gets cornered in the alleyway, and we see that like fog start rolling in, and then
Yeah.
it dissipates and it backs up. Dude, I loved what they did with the atmosphere in this film. I thought that was fantastic. That love that scene. I also love the scene where Peter Vincent decides to go back to the house to help Charlie, and you see all like the fog around the house and
Yeah.
coming out of the windows and all that stuff. Dude, it was so beautiful. Like it was so beautiful. And I saw this movie on Blu-ray. So I saw a Blu-ray version. I didn't even see the 4K yet. So I can only imagine how that looks. But dude, that I thought they did such a fantastic job with atmosphere throughout the whole film. They really captured that vampire lair type situation. Very danky, very dark, and just fog everywhere. Because that's usually traditionally that's what you think of like when you watch Nosferatu and all these other movies where it starts kind of rolling in, and next thing you know, it's either a bat or some dark figure appearing out of nowhere. But yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, they use a lot of fog in this movie. I think they
Yeah.
use more fog in this movie than in John Carpenter's The Fog. Like, there's a lot of everywhere they go. There's like ton of fog, but I like it. I really enjoy that. Like you said, the atmosphere it just gives it that spooky feeling in that neighborhood and the house and everywhere they go. So yeah, no, the production design is really good in the movie. But I mean, I feel like the only thing for me when it comes to the production design is that the movie mostly feels like it was shot on a back lot. I don't think they went to too many locations. I even tried to look it up and all I saw was the studio and stuff. So
Yeah.
it does have that little bit of that feeling. If we're comparing it to other and since we are comparing it a little bit to Lost Boys, where like that's why I said in Lost Boys you have like all these different locations and you could tell they shot there, the Santa Monica Pier and all that stuff, like you can see it and it really brings out the 80s. As in this one it's a little bit more contained. It mostly takes place in a couple of like the house or the apartment and just that little street, and then the dance sequence. So it's and I think it's also because it was a pretty low budget movie. It was budgeted at 9 million, so even for the 80s it was pretty low budget.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and for having such a low budget, I mean, this movie was one of the highest grossing horror films in 1985. So I mean, that's pretty insane. Something that I wasn't aware. I wasn't aware that they were that successful when the film first came out. But I could also imagine during that time. I mean, most horror movies coming out was very taboo. Everything was very new, very exciting and different. I mean, during that time, you had the Friday 13th. I mean, you had Nightmare on Elm Street just a year before. So, I think in the
Yeah, and then
80s.
Nightmare 2 of the same year too. Nightmare
Oh,
2
there you
came
go.
in
Yeah.
85.
So
Yeah.
that's a hell of a year, dude, to have Nightmare
Yeah, that
2
was a good
and this
year,
one.
man. I'm
Shit.
surprised, yeah, because I know this one, because we tend to we kind of forget sometimes that movie tickets in those days were like $3, $2. So yeah, the movie made 24 million worldwide, but that was big enough because ticket prices were a lot cheaper, and so a lot of people saw this, and it grew the even bigger cult following once it came out on VHS also. But no, for 9 million bucks, they did a great job with
Yeah, yeah.
everything.
Dude, I mean, again, with the practical effects. Dude, and it's funny you said that about the fog. Yeah, it's true. I felt like this movie had more mist or fog than the movie The Fog and The Mist. Like, dude, it
Yeah.
was insane. It was just constant everywhere. It's like, damn, where the hell is this place at?
There
It
were
was
like
just
fog machines everywhere. More fog, more fog.
yeah, you just see somebody running to the back, getting one of those 5-gallon jugs and pouring in the fluid, and they're just yelling at him. I'm like, more, more.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so freaking funny, man. But dude, how did you feel about like the parody in this movie? Like, did you feel like it leaned into more of a parody type horror film, or did you feel like it was more of a genuine, like they were going for that genuine horror?
I think the parody was much more with the Peter Vincent character. I think they were
Yeah.
doing parody of really old horror cinema with the Frankensteins and all that stuff like back in the 30s and 40s. They were definitely parodying that stuff, and I'm sure the director, was old enough that he grew up watching all that stuff. So and I saw that he got the name Peter Vincent from these older actors from back in the day. He put them together, so it does have a lot of parody of that. But I think it didn't bother me. I thought it makes sense. By the time you hit the 80s, those movies felt old, and the acting was over the top, Evil Ed style, but for everybody, and it just has that style. So I think it did, and the genuine horror parts I think come mostly from the Chris Sarandon just scaring the crap out of Brewster and making him feel crazy. The
Yeah.
neighbor kind of bullying him every time. He's like, "Get out of here, kid." He's like messing with him. Basically, they could kill him at any point. They just were messing with him. And once he sees the girlfriend and she looks like someone from the past, from the main vampire's life, he wants her and he's gonna seduce her. So now he's taking his girlfriend too, on top of kind of seducing his mom a little bit too, because she likes him. And then he's like scaring the crap out of him. So I think that brings in the genuine horror of like, what would you do if this was happening to you, type of situation.
Yeah, I felt like when you said earlier about it it almost it's kind of like mimicking like old school horror, like Frankenstein and all that stuff, because his pretty much his lackey, the obviously Jerry, the main vampire's lackey, it reminded me of like um what the hell is it called, that old school like horror movie where he has the guy with the hunchback. You know
Oh,
what I'm
the hunt the yeah, yeah, yeah,
it
damn,
was
I
Frank.
forgot. It's Frankenstein, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
Frankenstein, but I forget his name. But his
Igor,
assistant,
Igor.
Igor. Yeah, so this reminded me of pretty much the head vampire having his own type of Igor. Also, one thing that I did read was that Stephen Joffrey's he based Evil Ed's laugh on classic 50s horror villains. So it makes sense why like certain things are sprinkled in the film, like kind of exaggerating what old horror used to be like. Dude, I know on my end, as far as for like if it's more of a parody or genuine horror, it's really hard to say, because I think horror in the 80s is so different than it is now. um I think back then, since everything, like, we're so desensitized now that we watch movies that were just straight up like movies like Saw, for example, and we're watching some gruesome stuff, and for the most part, people are like, "Oh, okay, whoa, cool." But then back then, it's like something like this. Even though we look at it now, we're like, "Oh, it's pretty innocent," but then back then, it was like, "Holy shit! Like, this is new." Those practical effects, like that was as real as it got during the time. So I
Yeah.
think during the 80s, there was some parody to it, but I felt like they were generally going for that genuine horror for the most part. Obviously adding sprinkling some humor in it to kind of not, to keep it fun. But now it just feels like a total parody to me. Except obviously the scenes with Chris Sarandon. I mean, he fucking like just crushes it. When he's on screen, it is not a parody to me. Like that dude killed it.
And do you think he's like one of the most memorable vampires of the 80s, or well, I wouldn't say ever, but maybe of the 80s?
Dude, he's up there for me. I definitely think out of the vampire movies that I've seen, he was effortless. I think that's why he stands out the most. Obviously, we have Lost Boys, and that's like a whole different vampire. I felt like in Lost Boys it was more of a darker vampire, more evil. But then with Chris's vampire, he was definitely more playful. And like you said, he was just playing with Charlie the entire time, like this cat and mouse game. He would just entertain, because he could have taken him out at any single moment. He had him so many
Yeah.
times, but he was having fun. Like, he was having fun. He's just being seductive, taking his time with people. He wasn't rushing anything. Like, the dude was the definition of suave. And I think that, I mean, to me, he's up there. He's definitely, I would have to say, for the 80s at least. For even 90s, I would have to say he's like top 3 for me. Like, he just crushed it. He was natural for it.
Yeah. Yeah, to me too. Well, even comparing it to Lost Boys, you have the other vampires being more like teenagers, right? They
Yeah.
don't grow anymore. That's why it's called Lost Boys, little Peter Pan pun thing. But I think you always, as you watch that one, you're always looking at these guys as the vampires, but then we don't find out till the end of that movie who the main vampire is, which is the guy that's dating the kid's mom or whatever. Spoiler for Lost Boys, sorry. Um, but so with this one, he's there from the beginning. We know who the main guy is. He's there. His performance is great. He's a seductive. It's just like no, for sure. He. I think he stands out as one of the most memorable ones. I would have to really like dig into it, and I didn't really dig too deep into looking up the other vampire movies from the 80s and 90s that I can think of on the top of my head. But if I would have done a little research, I think he still would have made my top five for sure.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like when you were watching the film, was there any scene at all to you, like with him in it, that you felt like didn't work? Or did you just feel like across the board, every single dialogue, everything he had was just like absolutely perfect, perfectly delivered?
Yeah, no, and yeah, I wouldn't change it. I think he did a good job in every scene. He steals every scene he's in, and I think we balanced them out perfectly because he's in the movie a good amount, but he's not like this is Brewster's movie. He's the one like the main character. We're with him most of the time, and but then which is a good thing because if we had him there too much, then you kind of like it takes away from it. But just because you have him a perfect amount of time, I think he was on screen the perfect amount of time, and every scene worked with him.
Yeah, and it was a good amount of the way they balanced that. It left a good amount of mystery because whenever you did encounter him, it always seemed like he was doing something around the house. Like for the most part, like
Yeah,
you see him like unpacking his stuff and his
right.
artifacts or
Yeah.
whatever. But for the most part, that's what it was. Except when you see, well, you do see him behind the scenes. Like I remember when they first showed him when he's seducing that girl through the window, and you see Charlie like looking with the binoculars and stuff, and he sees him. I thought that scene was fantastic. I mean, the way that Chris Sarandon, he just kind of moves very slowly and just doesn't break eye contact, doesn't blink,
Yeah, to
and
close the window.
yeah, he slowly closes that window. I mean, dude, I think as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, damn, like that was great, and like it was just very, very. He wasn't threatening, but he wasn't not threatening. It was just kind of one of those like, what's up? What's this guy's deal? Like I could tell he's a vampire based on what he's trying to do, but like what's up with him? You know?
No, and I can see that scene that's a good example. Like that scene would have been super scary. Think about it in real life. You're looking out the window. Nobody wants to get caught staring or looking at someone.
Yeah,
And then he's kind of like frozen, and this guy, instead of just getting it out of the way quick, he just stares at him and stares at him and puts it down slow. And it takes its time to scare him because he's from that moment on, he's just playing with this kid. He's messing with him. Like we've said, like, I could have killed him whenever he wanted. I mean, taking out
dude.
his mom and him in a minute. But he likes the game. He likes the seduction. So it's from there you know this guy's the real deal.
Dude, even after he realizes that Charlie saw him, uh, he still kills the girl. Like minutes
Yeah,
later, you see the
I
body
don't
come out.
care.
Like that dude did not care, man. He did not give a shit. He was just like, you know what? Like, he's like, oh, you like watching, huh? All right, well, you don't get to watch. And then kills her, and then does his thing, and then he's just out there eating an apple. I just loved every time he was eating an apple. I didn't understand because I thought vampires didn't eat food, but he's always eating a freaking apple. This guy, like, he's just so chill. He's like,
Yeah.
yeah, just.
Yeah, and he keeps catching Charlie in these scenes where like he's behind a bush and his mom comes out looking for him and he's like, "Oh, I see him," and he's eating his apple and he throws it like
Yeah.
pretending that he dropped it, but you could tell he's throwing it and he catches him on the act. This is the second time he catches him peeping on him. And that's embarrassment to the max right there. And in a lot of movies, you always watch people like from a bush, and you see like, how can they not see him? He's right there. And this movie is like, no, we see you, man. I got you.
Dude, he was
and
the worst, dude.
and he runs away.
Dude, Charlie did not have an ounce of discretion at all. Like this dude was just so obvious all the time. I felt like a lot of times in the film he could have handled things differently to get things rolling his way and to catch this guy, to catch freaking Jerry. But he just, dude, it was just always hysterical. Like he was like, dude, obviously he even knew he sounded crazy saying vampires, and he could have just easily come up with something else. But yeah, man, he was absolute worst. I felt like I was in that situation. I would have handled things a little bit different. But what would you have done, dude? Like if you would have been in Charlie's shoes?
Yeah, because even yeah, like I feel like Charlie, even when he gets the cop to go over, instead of saying, "I think there's something in the in the what is it? Is it in the basement or
Yeah,
is
yeah. He said there's a
yeah in the
coffin in the
basement?"
basement. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of saying coffin, he could have just said, "I think he has a dead body down there or something," to take the
Yep.
cop down there, which still would have got the cop killed, I guess, at the end of the day. But um, I don't know. I think I would have just moved, man. I was like, "Fucking mom, we're moving," like let's get out of here.
Pack your shit. We're out
Uh,
of here.
I mean, I like his mom in the movie too. I thought her performance was good. She's in it very little, but I like the way that the relationship she has with him, and she's very cool with him. She kind of lets him do whatever he wants. She's a single mom. She's trying to make it out there, and so I don't know. I think with having a cool mom like that, he probably could have. But I mean, if you bought the house and stuff, what would I do? I don't know, man. It would be, like I said, try to convince, I guess, similar things to Charlie, but not be so out there and so obvious about the vampire part. Maybe keep that out and just say, I got a creep next door that I think is killing, like a serial killer or something, and try to get the cops involved as much as I can and see what happens.
Dude, yeah, he had very poor communication skills. Even in the beginning where he's looking through the binoculars and he sees the casket being carried in and his girlfriend's like asking him, he's like, "Oh, there's a casket out there." Like he just I don't know, I just felt like he wasn't very direct. Like if I was in his shoes, completely different situation. If I was looking out the window, I'd have been like, "Hey, it's something weird going on next door. There's some people moving in, but they have like some casket that they're carrying into the basement. Like things are getting pretty weird. Oh, you should come check it out." But he was just so and I guess, if yeah, he's portraying a kid and stuff. But since I guess they didn't look like teenagers to me, except Evil Ed. He was the only one that looked like he was a teenager, like he was on a short bus. But like
Yeah.
as far as for Charlie and Amy, they looked like they were at least starting college to me.
Oh yeah,
Um
because the age they really were, and also I don't
yeah,
know if I'd believe a teenager that's been with a girl for a while and he's finally about to make
after
get
a
laid.
year, yeah.
And then I don't care if there's a vampire, a dinosaur outside. If you're 15, 16, and you're finally gonna get laid, you don't care. You would have just, but he's there like ignoring his girl when she's finally ready. And oh yeah, come look at this. I'm like, Charlie, you stupid son of a gun.
Yeah, dude. I was just like, dude, like, are you serious right now? Like, I got his frustration. I get it. He was like, oh, it's been a year. Like, I can't even touch your boob. Like he was all like, it was just such a funny scene. And then she's like, all right, let's just go all the way. And I was like, damn, that escalated pretty quickly from not touching a boob to just like, let's just go for it. But dude, I want to say that, man, with Amanda Bierce, like, I just wish that they would have picked another actress to be the girlfriend. Um, just because I just did not see her like I did not out of all the women that the vampire could have had, like him going for her. And normally, like, I don't know, like in other movies that I've seen, I'm used to kind of like there's always similar stories. I've seen like two other movies that had a similar plot where the vampire knew someone from back in the day. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what was it? Dracula 2000, I think was the one. It was one of those movies where it was almost the same situation where the girl was like almost like reincarnated from somebody in the past that Dracula or whatever knew, and he wants her because he thinks it's her and stuff. And obviously the girl's like gorgeous, the long hair, everything. But with this one, it didn't sell it for me. I think do you remember the blonde girl in the beginning of the film where she's going into the vampire's
Yeah.
house in the beginning and like Charlie's like staring at her, he's like, "Oh my god." Like
Yeah.
I feel like if they would have cast her as for Amy's character, it would have been totally different. It would have been way more believable to me, especially obviously like Jerry trying to seduce her of all the women in the neighborhood. But it was just I don't know. I just felt like Amanda was a bit too plain Jane to play that role of being seduced. Because even with the wig, that hair just didn't match her to me. Like it just looked like a wig to me,
Yeah.
like that long red hair. Like it was kind of I
I
don't know. It
thought
was kind of weird to me.
I thought she looked better with it because me personally prefer longer hair on women, but
Oh, same, yeah.
um I mean I think I agree with some of that. I mean, she didn't bother me. I think in real life most people, are not like extremely attractive like movie stars to have, but what you're saying about that, I believe it comes from Dracula. Even thinking of the 90s Dracula with Gary Oldman, I believe Winona Ryder's character is looks like someone from his past, and he wants to
Yeah.
seduce her. That's like a trope in these like vampire movies that happens a lot. So, but yeah, no, I get some of that, and I think growing up, watching the show too, and she was that character in that show, kind of changes it up a bit. I mean, but to be fair to her, she made this movie first before the show, but you know.
Yeah. You just every time I saw her in the screen, she seemed very naggy, especially when she was like, "Oh, are you coming?" Like when she kept almost like she was like seemed kind of desperate. There was a scene where she's like, "Oh, do you want me back?" And this and that, and it just felt like it didn't match her character. Just because for like 11 years, I was used to her being that naggy, complainy type Karen character, and it just like I'm pretty sure if I saw this before Made with Children, it would have definitely did more of a lasting impression and stuff. But just 11 years of her being a certain character was like, damn man, like it really um it didn't do it for me. But obviously still did good. Like she still did good in the role. Like I wasn't put off or anything. I wasn't kind of like, oh my god. And then when she did turn to the vampire, that was cool. Took me a second to get used to the hair because I do love long hair too. It definitely just again I've never seen her with long hair. Like I've always
Mhm.
seen her with short hair, especially from the beginning of Married with Children. So to see her with that long hair and it looking all dry and kind of like a wig, I was just like, man, like they definitely made her look more seductive and stuff, especially with the fangs and everything. But it just like I don't know. But dude, talk about seductiveness, right? Obviously we've talked about Chris Sarandon's character, just crushing it in this. But then there's the 2011 remake, right? With Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
And I mean, from what I remember from that film, I remember him being like super seductive. I mean, he's a dude in Hollywood where like he dated all the big stars. I mean, he was hooking up with Britney Spears at one point. Like all the chicks wanted this dude. I mean, he was one of those like bad boys in Hollywood. How did you feel about the remake? And did you feel like the remake was a lot more seductive and sexier and darker compared to this original?
Well, yeah, I mean the remake came out in 2011, so cinema's different. It's almost 30 years later. I think I personally like the remake. I think it got good criticism. I think people, and I what I like about the remake is that it's different than this one. They didn't try to make it exactly the same. You got the kid next door that sees this guy, and you have the girlfriend and the friend. All the characters are there.
Yeah.
But what I liked about it was the change. I did like that it takes place in Las Vegas. It makes sense for a lot of the windows to be covered up all the time because Vegas is a town where a lot of people work the night shift because of the casinos. So they involved that as a smart idea. I thought Colin Farrell was good in it. I personally like Chris Sarandon better if we're going with the character from each movie. I prefer Chris Sarandon. I thought Colin Farrell played it well, but I just prefer this one as far as that character. I thought the lead was probably a tie, like them both. The girlfriends, maybe the one from the remake's a little better, and we didn't have an evil led exaggerated character in that one. So yeah, I mean comparisons. I personally enjoy this one better, but I still really like the remake. I thought it was good. So yeah, as far as seduction and all that, I'll give it to Chris Sarandon. What about
Dude,
you?
I want to say that as far as for the remake, I mean, and I was just going over to like the cast. I mean, dude, the cast is jam packed. I mean, you have Dave Franco, Christopher Mintz. I mean, you have Imogen Potts. I love her. Pretty much anything that she's done. We obviously have the mom, Tony Collette, playing the mom, which we
Yeah,
talked about recently, Hereditary.
yeah,
Um, the dude and Anton Yelchin, which I've absolutely loved him in everything he's done. Rest in peace. He was such an awesome actor and seemed like a really good human being. But
yeah.
dude, the cast in this movie is just absolutely stacked. And I did look at the trailer compared to what I remembered from the film, but definitely it's definitely darker, it's sexier. I mean, even the introduction of Colin Farrell as the head vampire in that role where he's like we're doing the yard work compared to this one, like it's definitely a different type of like seduction. and sexiness and grittiness to the original. I mean, obviously, it's more modern times. It's different. I mean, back then, what people were attracted to is way different than what it is now. But yeah, dude, I definitely heard. I remember hearing good reviews on this film, on the remake. Again, it's such a star-studded cast that I couldn't expect it to do bad just because of them. I mean, I guess, but especially Toni Collette. Like, how do you fuck up a movie with Toni Collette in it? Like, she's just so great in anything.
No,
Um,
it's a good movie. I mean, do you? I'll say this though, I wasn't. It makes sense because it takes place in Vegas. They get
yeah,
more like the magician guy to help them with the vampire stuff. I wasn't too big on that part of it, and that actor himself, nothing against him, but I'm not too big on him either. If anything, that cast is stacked, but that's the I guess the guy that stands out as you know the one I didn't like too much. But but no, I think both movies stand up well next to each other, and it's pretty rare for a remake to be whether it's better or at least as good as the original. And like I said, I really like the fact that the plot's the same, all the key actors and roles and characters are there, but they did change up enough of it that makes it entertaining and it's a good movie. Unfortunately, there is some CGI that I'm sure if I rewatch it now, by now it's not going to look that great.
yeah,
So this one gets a little bit more, praise for the practical effects and stuff. But yeah, no, I think now that we watch this one, I'm gonna watch Fright Night 2 soon because I've been wanting to rewatch that one even more than this one. I I like this one better, but Friday Night 2 is I think it's underrated and it's a lot of fun. And maybe I'll probably, hit up the remake too. I own that one, so
yeah.
but yeah.
I definitely want to watch the remake. After watching this one, before I watch part two, just because I'm so curious to rewatch it and see. I know probably when I saw it was like during the DVDs time, so to watch it a little bit better resolution and all that. I am excited to see Christopher Mintz play Evil Ed and see his portrayal. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna enjoy it more just because Christopher Mintz, like, and I haven't seen him in a movie where he annoyed me or anything. And he's always playing kind of. I've seen him play like an evil role before, or evilish, like a dick role, and he did really good with it. So excited to see that. And I was looking into the actor that plays Peter Vincent in the new one, David Tennant, and he's one of the Doctor Who's. I've never seen the show, but I know when I saw his face, I was like, why does this guy look familiar?
Oh
So
yeah, he's a good actor. I just didn't think he just didn't fit the role for me.
yeah,
He's playing like this David Blaine type magician, and I was
yeah.
like, I wasn't falling for him wearing black and the eye makeup and just being this like goth guy when he just didn't fit the role for me.
Yes,
Acting wise though, he's a good actor. Not to say anything bad about him.
yeah, especially him playing Peter Vincent. I mean, it's a complete polar opposite of like an old horror show to this like David Blaine. Like that's a whole complete character switch. But it's gonna be interesting to see that, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe we do a follow up in the future. We do an episode of talking about the remake or something, and
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that'll be. I think that'll be pretty fun. But dude, I mean, yeah, I mean, overall, man. I mean, do you have any cool little fun facts or behind the scenes stuff that you want to add onto this one, or anything in particular you want to talk about, like in the film?
Unfortunately, no, I did. I'm telling you, like, if you guys are a fan of this movie, grab the 4K Steelbook. It's still available because it is stacked. Like, it's got the Brewster documentary that's 2.5 hours. Then it has like a whole table read. It's got like, I think it's got like 6 hours worth of features, and I haven't gotten to them to be honest with you. I saw about 30 minutes yesterday, but I couldn't keep going with it because I had some stuff to do. But so I really don't have too much other behind the scenes other than that. And from what I saw on my usual spots where I find it, I didn't see anything from what we already have here on the notes that would to add too much to. So we could go down this list for sure.
Dude, well, I wanted to ask you about that special features, like the documentary. I know you haven't been able to get too far into them, but do you know if this is like the full blown documentary that it comes with, or is there something different, something separate? Because I remember like maybe like 2 months ago hearing somebody talk about, I don't know if dude, if it was even you or somebody else telling me that there was like an actual kind of like a Never Sleep Again type
Yeah.
documentary, but for this movie. Is that the one that comes with the
Yeah, it's
4K?
I believe it's called You're So Cool, Brewster. and it's the 2.5 hour one, which
Oh,
I
okay.
think they released it separately, but with this release they added to the Blu-ray, so like you don't have to like go out and buy, the separate one if you don't have it. Yeah, no, it's interesting. The only thing I remember from seeing in our notes that I'll mention our notes and I'll mention a little bit more of it is that this is the first movie Tom Holland directed, the director of Child's Play and Thinner, and he also wrote this movie, and
Nice.
they wanted someone else to direct it, but he wanted to direct this movie because he came off writing Psycho 2, which had a lot of success, and he told the studios like he came up with this idea, and he really wanted to direct it, and he was lucky he had a producer that backed him, and he was able to to make his director debut, and he also gave us Child's Play and stuff, so he does talk about that a little bit.
That's pretty cool, man. I'll definitely, you know, I know when we talked earlier today, I was already halfway through the movie, and man, like it was a tough one at first for me. Like it really was. I'll honestly say I was getting kind of bored. I think it was just Evil Ed, like the actor, dude. It was
Yeah.
just annoying me so much, and I was just like, dude, like what the hell? But I don't know. Once I got to the end of the film and I finished it, I was like, oh, okay. Like, it grew on me. I was like, okay, not so bad. Like this was kind of cool. Like I loved, like I mentioned earlier, all the stuff that I loved about the film and everything. The stuff that I didn't care too much. It's definitely a movie that I would pick up on 4K and then not revisit frequently. It's not one of those I'd watch every year type films, but I know from the top of my head, I have a strong feeling that I'm gonna prefer the remake. Um, but it's definitely I think it was good. It was good, man. I think I started judging it a little hastily in the beginning. It wasn't bad. Um, but dude,
Actually,
what
more I know you're gonna like the remake because you've seen it and you like it. I know you're gonna like it, but I'm actually pretty. If we ever do an episode down the line, but if you get a chance, give part two a chance. It's faster paced, and I'm not saying it's better, but it's faster paced and it's a fun movie. So yeah, if you ever get a chance, let me know what you feel about part two.
oh dude, no, I'll definitely be checking it out because I want to know how it ends. Because I mean, the ending in this film with obviously Evil Ed, like at least I think that was him, right? With the red eyes at the end. Like how what did you think of the ending? Because I mean, you've seen part two, so you know, like
Yeah, but I've seen part two way less than this one. I've seen part two twice.
yeah,
And the last time I saw it was, I want to say, I saw it with my friend here. I remember we watched it, and it must have been at least 3 years ago. And, we
yeah.
watched so many movies that I don't remember. I don't know if that's Evil Ed at the end or not. I did want to mention right quick, part two is directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who directed Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which I really enjoy. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I don't know. I there was a couple of things in this movie that kind of left a question mark. Like, why does Evil Ed turn into a wolf if he's a
Yeah.
vampire? Is he a lichen or something? Um, there's a couple of things like, all right, the henchman guy, the creeper, he's able to walk throughout the day, but then he almost implies that he is a vampire because they shoot him in the face and he gets back up. But we never really find out what creature he is. So I kind of feel like this movie has more than just vampires, right? But at the same time, Evil Ed gets bit in the neck to become a vampire. So I always kind of felt like the movie kind of gives a thing like, oh, you could get bit by a vampire, but what you're meant to be the most like this guy has more in his blood to be a werewolf, and this guy has more in his blood to be something else, like different animals or something. But yeah, I've always been a little bit puzzled by that, and yeah, that's why I want to watch the whole documentary to see if they mention more of that stuff to get concrete answers for that.
Dude, I think, it's interesting because if they were going based on the old school like characters, like horror characters where you have like Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Werewolf Man and all Invisible Man, I felt like his henchman was like a zombie. Because I don't know if you noticed, like when they shot him in the head and they shot him and all that stuff, he he was like kind of like zombie-ish. Like even if you see his eyes, they would look like a zombie. And then the green goo like almost reminded me of
Yeah.
kind of like Return of the Living Dead type situation. Um,
Yeah, but when you shoot a zombie in the head, they die, and this guy dies when because they put a piece of wood in him like a vampire. So that's where it's kind of it's almost
yeah.
like each vampire does its own thing. Like some of them can walk during the day, some of them become werewolves, some of them become bats. But at the end of the day, maybe they're all vampires in different ways.
Mm.
But yeah, he does definitely have the zombie, like you said, the goo and all that stuff makes sense.
Dude, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because one thing to me that I felt that it was kind of stupid was when you see the wolf running, dude, they use a lion's roar. Like, they did not, like, that was a full-blown lion's roar and growl, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, "Dude, you guys could not get a recording of a wolf or anything else?" Like, it had like, there's two completely different animals, completely different species, so that was one thing too that kinda threw me off, and during that scene, it was kinda hard too, because I was like, I'm here a lion, but I'm watching a wolf run down the hallway in slow motion." But besides that, yeah, I mean, those open questions, like, what the hell were they? Like, what was he like, all this and that? And then if he was bit and let's say he was a vampire and he did die, obviously getting the cross to the face, getting the stake to the chest, and then the main honcho dying, how would he still be alive? Like, it makes no sense how Evil Ed would still survive that unless the head honcho didn't bite him. But maybe then who did, was it his assistant? I mean, if he was a vampire, like, is there somebody else? But I'm assuming once I watch part 2 there might be more answers, especially since what's her name, since Amy's gonna appear in part 2. So we'll see, man. I mean, I'm curious to find out where this journey takes us.
Yeah, I don't remember as much. I do remember there being like a main female vampire in the second one, and I
Ooh.
believe that Chris Sarandon's character does come out. But man, I know I remember having a lot of fun watching it this last time I saw it. But damn, I just don't remember that much of it. That's why I really want to watch it again. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to watch it before the we shot this episode.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to watch it this week because yeah, I want to see, and then I'll give you see if there's any answers for the evil Ed thing. See if it
Dude,
comes
hell
out.
yeah. And guys, if you guys are watching this, you're listening, if you have any answers to any questions that we've asked throughout the episode, let us know in the comments section. Reach out. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the film and what you took from these specific scenes. Did you even enjoy the movie? I mean, I'm assuming you did if you're watching this, or if you hated it and you just like doing those things to yourself and just torturing yourself. Like, I'm gonna listen to these two knuckleheads talk about a movie that I hate for like over an hour. But let us know. We're about to jump into the rating section, so let us know your ratings for this film as well. We're curious to see the consensus. Right now, this movie is trending at 3.6 out of 5 stars on Letterbox. Lee, what are you rating this movie and why?
Well, because I agree with the evil Led stuff, I agree with a lot of the question marks. I do feel that Um, well, let me just say this first. I think this movie's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with it. I can see it being more of a grower for some. Like you might like it better the second time. Let's say 2 years from now, you're watching it with a friend or with your girl, and
Yeah.
maybe you're having a beer or a whiskey or something, and you just catch a little buzz, and you're just put it on, and you might enjoy it a little more. Who knows? It's happened to me too. Like there's some '80s movies that I thought were super corny, Night of the Creeps, for example, and I saw it a second time and I enjoyed it a little more. I actually like it and stuff. So, with all that said and done, um, in my heart, I want to give it a 4, but in reality, it's a 3.5 out of 5. It's still, good rating, I think.
Oh no, absolutely, dude. I mean, that's it. No, definitely. Um, well, I want to say, like I mentioned earlier, I mean, I rated it. I not rated it. I judged it a little too prematurely, only halfway through the film. Once I got to the end, and especially, the things that I learned that went on behind the scenes, the making into it, talking about it with you today. It's definitely one of the, because that's the thing, man. Like, sometimes I'll make a decision and I'll rate something as soon as I see it, and then we'll do one of these episodes, right? Or we'll just talk about it amongst ourselves, and that definitely helps fluctuate the rating for me. I don't know if it does do that for you sometimes, but
Yeah.
definitely, it definitely changed my rating a little bit. especially dude, I'm big when it comes to cinematography, and I thought it was just beautifully shot. The music was just top notch, fantastic. Again, I thought the seductive sensual moments were there. I thought that the practical effects were absolutely fantastic. There was questions left for me, stuff unanswered. As far as your Evil Ed's character, not did not like him at all whatsoever. So that was one big turn off for me. But no, honestly, if it wasn't, if his character would have not his character, if the actor portraying him would have gone a different route, I think my rating would have been totally different. I probably would have given it a 4, honestly, if it wasn't for his character. Um, Also the fact with what's his name, with Peter Vincent. Dude, I hated how fake his hair looked.
Oh
That's one
yeah,
thing that it was hard.
the fake white hair. It was like
Yeah,
sprayed
dude,
on.
it looked like they just sprayed it on. They didn't even dye it or anything. And I absolutely hated that. I felt like they could have done better and they half-assed it. And that's something every time I saw him on screen, it took me out of believing his character just because of the hair. Because dude, sometimes something as small as that could really change the whole character's persona. Um, but again, with all that being said, long story long, I ended up giving the film a 3. Maybe in the future, once I rewatch it, it might go up to a 3.5 like you. But for now, I gave it a 3 just because those negatives really, they really, when they were on screen, it was really hard to focus on anything else because of those things for me.
Got it.
But
Yeah. Well, that's a good. This 3 out of 5 is still a positive rating.
yeah, man.
So us Friday Night fans will take it, and we'll get you in there. You'll get there. You'll get to in about 5 years. He's gonna be a full blown Fright Night fan. He's gonna
I'm
get a
just gonna,
tattoo and everything.
I'm just gonna have the T-shirt. Are you gonna see me like a little more pale and
Yeah,
moving slowly and shit? Like, what's wrong
with
with you?
a evil Ed tattoo on his neck. He's like, I love
Oh
evil
man,
Ed.
fucking
Well,
evil
let's
Ed,
let's give
man.
some let's give some movie recommendations. Movies that go with this one. Movies you could blend it. You could have a double feature with. Why don't you give us some first?
Dude, I'm just gonna give two, right? Two off the bat. I wanna say Salem's Lot. If you're and the reason I
Mm,
say that one, and I'm talking about there's a new one. There's a remake on HBO that you could watch. I have to rewatch it. I don't know how I still don't know how I feel about it. I did think it was beautifully shot. Like I thought the atmosphere was there. But obviously there's the original 1979 Salem's Lot, small town vampire terror type film. Very similar to this. But the atmosphere is there. So if you're looking to feel that kind of fall type feeling where it's like it feels spooky, you have this fog everywhere, I think that's a good one to watch with this film if you're in the mood for a vampire movie. If not, if you want the atmosphere and the creepiness but you're kind of like, I don't think I want too much vampire films, The Fog is a good one to go with as far as for atmosphere.
it's a lot of
um
fog in both movies. You're gonna be fogged out.
Yeah, seriously,
Get the
Fog. I
fog
got
out of here.
get the the Mist is another one. And then obviously you cannot go wrong with the 1987 stylish punk rock vampire classic, which is The Lost Boys. I mean, you've from on my end, I think these are like
Yeah,
the ones that I've seen a ton of times, and I could wholeheartedly recommend as a double or triple feature, especially for spooky season now that we're in full blown Halloween season. But what
yeah.
about you, man?
Well, outside of just, I'll get quickly out of the way. Fright Night Part Two. Just go right into it, double feature it, and knock them both out. Um, but I really do think that on my end, I was thinking a lot of Return of the Living Dead with this movie because I think both movies don't take themselves seriously. They're pure '80s fun. That's
Yeah.
another movie that has goofy characters and some acting choices were kind of like on Evil Ed style, but I love that movie. I enjoy it. So I like right after this one, watching Return of the Living Dead could be a lot of fun. If you want to see it, since you mentioned The Fog, I'll also mention Christine for the friendship and the '80s thing with it. That movie's pure '80s also. Um, and I think lastly, I'll throw in a werewolf movie because I was thinking of a werewolf movie. I'll throw The Howling in instead of
Ginger
American
snaps.
Werewolf in Yeah, I think The Howling is a fun 80s vampire movie that has some cheesiness to it that could go pretty well with this one too. But yeah, Return of the Living Dead I think will be the perfect for me double feature outside of Friday Night Part 2. So
Dude,
you guys do with that what you will.
dude, that's a great choice, man, because you have the sexiness. Obviously, you have the cemetery scene that it's
Yeah.
famous
Yeah.
for. It you have the kooky characters. You have friendships and all that stuff. It really the only difference between the two, I think, it's obviously the it's vampires slash lycan versus zombies, which is
Zombies now.
awesome. So that's a great recommendation. Dude, the Howling's a good one. Um, I thought for some reason I thought you were gonna say Ginger Snaps. I haven't seen Ginger
Oh.
Snaps, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. I like Ginger Snaps. But I don't know if it goes with this one that much. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another werewolf movie with two sisters. It's a Canadian movie. It's a cool, fun movie, but I recommend that movie. But as a double feature, yeah, you could do it. But I think the ones we recommended fit a little better
Oh
with
yeah, dude.
Fright Night.
I feel like with this episode too, we had a ton of recommendations this time around, which is pretty
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's hard not to pair things with vampire movies because there's so many options out there, especially when you have a lot of these classic movies. You have vampire movies, you have werewolf movies, you have zombie movies, and they always just all. I mean, it's just like the Monster Squad. Like it all kind of just at one point
Yeah.
or another blends in together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, guys, that's it for the movie recommendation segment. We've got our sponsor segment. And for this, obviously, this episode is brought to you guys by Valoria Video. So whether you're looking for these 80 horror movies, slashers, monster flicks, they've pretty much got it all. They've got Blu-rays, they've got 4Ks. I think they might even have DVDs. So that's something to look into. But if you are looking to pick up this movie, I believe they have the steelbook for it.
Mm-hmm.
You go to valoriavideo.com, use the code face the movies 10, you get 10% off your order. They're a small business, so you're supporting not just a small business, but you're helping out the podcast, the channel as well, and you're saving some money in the process. So if you don't use that now, I know the holidays coming up, put that code in your back pocket. And we also have friends at Monster Mall, which is MAUL. They also offer 10% off. For that, it's their used titles, which they have great selections. So make sure, I think they just had a sale recently. So make sure to check them out. They have a ton of good stuff for used films. I myself buy a ton of used movies. I, I mean, these days, we're all on a budget. Some of these new releases could be pretty expensive, but just being able to revisit these used ones and getting a hell of a deal, 10% off plus whatever discount they have, or you get $1 off any new release or pre-order. For that, the code is Face the Movies 10 for Monster Mall. So again, keep that in your back pocket just in case for the future. But yeah, guys, I mean, thank you so much for tuning in. I mean, that was a look back at Fright Night, one of the classic vampire seductive films, a movie that proves that sometimes monsters next door is a little bit way too charming at times. So you got to be careful.
Yeah, and guys, I also want to mention real quick, make sure if you're listening to us on Apple and Spotify to leave your reviews there. We really appreciate that. It helps us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we could do it make it better for you guys. But I do hope you're enjoying it and you give us that 5-star review. So yeah, let me just say, let us also know what you think about Friday Night. Is it the best vampire movie of the '80s, or if The Lost Boys still reigns supreme?
Oh, I know that absolutely, man. That's a hard one, man. I mean, The Lost Boys is definitely a beloved film. And then guys, if you're driving around stuck in traffic and you want to listen to a podcast there, you're running, you're working out, you're listening to it, you're cooking, or you want to watch us on here, you want to see our smiling faces and our reactions when we're talking about certain random things. We do have the recordings on YouTube. There you can check out my channel, Face the Movies. I usually upload them there either Thursday nights or Fridays around lunch. And then Lee, he has his channel, Cinema Whiplash, and he has the playlist on there as well. So you can
Yeah.
watch them on either or. Make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoy these episodes. Comment, let us know. Like Lee said, if there's anything that we could work on, make it better, any recommendations, or just want to say hi, comment on there. But yeah, Lee, take it away.
Well, just thank you for joining us for another Friday night of frights for the movie Fright Night with the podcast Friday Night Fright Night.
There we go. So I hope with this episode it kind of did give a little revelation for you guys, but we're not going to say any more than that. You know, you guys you got put two and two together. But as always, until next time, keep your lights low, the volume high, and don't invite anyone into your house after hours. See you guys.
See ya.